think let's start first with the couple of relatively younger companies and startups, so to say. So let's first start with Last Mile Digital. May I request you to share your thoughts on riding the mobile wave?
Yeah. Thank you, Alok sir. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know once you all can see that. Okay. I hope you all can see it.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay. So Deepak ji, thank you so much. Thank you, India Kitchen Congress, and thank you, Alok ji, for the introduction. I'll be talking about a very hot topic right now, considering what the COVID has done to the overall industry as well as the businesses, and why it is the best time to ride on something which is what we called Last Mile Digital. I represent and am the CEO as well as co-founder of ATechnos venture called Almond, which means activating last mile on digital. I want to start with a small story of someone who really inspired me. Inspired in the sense, he is Babu Ramji. Babu Ramji is actually from a village Kuda from Jaipur rural, and I happened to meet him a couple of months ago during my market visit for a brand in Jaipur rural. What I found him is that he was sitting in front of an ATM but listening to news on his speaker phone, and this news was in Hindi, and he was listening about the latest news. So I asked him that, how did you get to know about the news, and how did you able to find that there is some news that you can listen to? He was speaking in Hindi and Rajasthani, so he just called me and I sat next to him. So he started explaining that, you know, there is a shop in the village who actually is his friend's son, and he somehow influenced Babu Ramji to purchase this phone for approximately 1200 rupees. Once he purchased, he also mentioned that when you purchase this phone, you will also get internet for 6 months free, primarily some limitations and all. But this shop guy also told him that there is some government scheme which is running, and if you enroll for that government scheme within next few weeks, you'll also get 1000 rupees in your bank account directly. So why don't you open a bank account and you get this 1000 rupees as well? So what Babu Ramji thinks, that effective cost for this mobile phone plus 6 months internet for him is 200 rupees. Very interesting fact number one. Second, which is the answer to my curiosity when I asked him that how did you find this news? So he said that the shopkeeper explained him that there is a voice assistant on this phone, and you can simply speak on this voice assistant using your own language. So what he did basically, he said, Madam ji, aaj ki taja khabar suna do. And that's exactly what happened to me as well when I searched for using voice assistant taja khabar. And today morning when I again took the screenshot, I could see the latest news. Welcome to Last Mile Digital. This story was very important because what we used to think about India a couple of years ago, it's a different story altogether. Because if you look at Indian digital landscape, it's very interesting. Right now, as I was talking previously as well, on couple forums, that India has got 1 billion plus mobile phone users, but out of that, approximately 60% of them use platforms which are social and digital platforms. And if I have to create an iceberg, which is what we call Almond iceberg, I can divide this iceberg into 3 very clear-cut segments. One is a smartphone, which is the tip of the iceberg, primarily a little bit below the water as well, which is 45 crore smartphone users. Then there is a geofication, which has happened in the country for last couple of years, which is where the 150 million smart feature phone users existed. These are those people who are using the type, but still can use internet. And then there is a huge 40 crore people who are still on the keypad or a type pad phone, which is the feature phone. These are some other stats and all. And we have also tried to find out using some data that which are the key apps that they were using. But very interesting insight is that almost all these, approximately 1 billion plus mobile phone users are using voice, text, which is SMS, some value-added services on the phone, plus CRBT. As a couple of minutes ago, I called Deepak ji, I could hear a COVID-related announcement that's called caller ring back tone, CRBT. And of course, the payments and top-ups. So that means I have to do top-up recharges and everything. We call them online, and then we call the other uh, feature phone users offline. Now, when we have divided this entire user base, which is the entire consumer base, customer base, or whatever you call in your language, as a brand, we have different sets of expectations from these people. And from the 600 million people or 60 crore people who are online, so-called online, we want them to come to visit my store, attend events, engage with them online, and then want them to come to my store to buy something and do something. And once they are at my store or attending my events or anything, we also want them to talk about this event, which is where they experience something, so that they can also share those details on their social circles, which is available online. And we call it online to offline to online. So just online to offline is not enough. It's also need to be extended. Similarly, the other 40 crore people who are primarily offline and they just have mobile, but not so much on internet, what brands primarily looking forward to get to know them, to know their preferences, get to connect with them somehow. And once they are connected, the brand want them to give some experiences so that they can take it. And then again, the brand wants them to come back to their villages or stores or homes, and then talk about the experience that they have taken. And then these people can be using voice services, text, and other these services. We call it offline to online. And then once they have come online, we also want them to go back and talk about the experience that they have taken online at the offline. So we call it online, offline to online to offline. So basically now with digital, you have an opportunity to engage with the entire 100 crore mobile phone user base in the country. And that's exactly where last mile digital fits. So if I have to tell you what last mile digital's definition is, it's basically a balanced amalgamation of digital and technology, not only digital. And digital is very vast, because a lot of people just think digital is only limited to social media or Google, Facebook, etc. kind of things. No, that's not exactly how the definition is. But balancing the amalgamation of digital and technology to create engaging experiences. Now, when Babu Ramji clicked on that and said, Taja Khabar Suna Do, that was the experience that he was saying. And because he was speaking in his own language, it was also showing the news which was near around him or close to his location. And then again, very important, on any phone. So basically, last mile digital, the concept that the whole platform allows you to interact with anyone with the seamless features in the language that they understand, in the way that they prefer. So in a nutshell, as I was saying, engaging and converting last mile users, and with the digital and with these platforms, now you have opportunity to interact with them seamlessly. So who are the last mile user for you as a brand? And I'm just considering, because IKC is a prominent name, and I assume that people who are attending here are the brands who are in the kitchen, home appliances, and all those sort of categories. I think there are three segments of last mile users for you. One is a trade partner. So it could be your distributors, retailers, shop owners. Second, which is very important, is actually influencer. So people who are actually not consuming your products, but actually a big vote for you as a product, vote for you as a brand. And then they tell the consumers that you should buy this and all those sort of things. And finally, the end consumer or the buyer or the user. So they could be online, offline, or as I mentioned, O2O to O, it could be hybrid. So how do you make sure that all of these people get to know about your brand, vote for your brand, and end of the day, you also convert them as your buyers or users? There are some core pillars of last mile digital. To start with, creating digital communities. If I have to take an example of a paint brand, there are painters data that every paint brand has. They keep on reaching out to them through painter meets and all these physical meets, which are no more possible. How do we still create these experiences for them? Digital has an answer for that. You can think of creating digital communities, which is one of the core pillars. Most important, hyper local content. If I can speak to you in your own language, the language that you speak, the language that you understand, and the language that you love, nothing beats out of it. Then the instant gratification, which I think India has seen a great wallet systems and adoption to UPIs and all those things in last few years. Instant gratification is something that is still I think, underused in the country, but there is a huge potential for us to start thinking about gratifying my last mile users using instant gratification. And of course, because entire system is on digital or technology platforms, it's all measurable. Every touch, every click, every engagement, every experience that anyone is doing can be tracked as well as measured. So basically, if you look at the entire ecosystem of last mile, is that if we can build some very simplistic mobile platforms, it could be web, app, microsite, could be experiences, where your end user can very precisely engage with you. And for that engagement, if the brand can give some kind of very subtle digital wallet gratification or any kind of digital gratification, regardless of what phone they are using, if they are on smartphone, you can pass them any kind of digital gratifications, vouchers, etc. If they are on feature phone, you can still give them data vouchers and recharge vouchers and whatnot. These are some of the core pillars. So let me give you just a few examples of digital communities what various brands are building. So for example, Coca-Cola, Hindustan Coca-Cola has built a digital community of safety champions. They call the drivers basically, and these drivers are basically trained every time they take a truck, and everything is happening digital on the kiosk that they have installed. And eventually in future, they're also thinking of creating a safety microsite on which driver will log in using OTT verifies, and then they watch a video and they get gratification. Similarly, Udan, which is India's one of the leading B2B marketplace platform, they are building a community of retailers, and they are creating these engagements through gamification of these products and all those sort of things. Asian Paints, not to mention, as I gave an example, they're building a community. But as I mentioned, the hyper local content is very important piece here, because India is a country of languages, dialects. Every user has a different context about various things. Every user, every last mile user has a different type of style about how they think and all. So it's very important for us as a brand marketers or marketing transformation firms to think that how do we curate a content which is highly relevant as well as highly engaging for the end user. And it needs to be done through measurable mediums. So as I mentioned, that couple of mediums that we always been using is SMSs, IVRs, WhatsApp integrations. WhatsApp opened up official WhatsApp APIs that brand can use, of course, for the transactional kind of services. Web and mobile apps, very easy and very quickly can be created for various kind of services. Social media, I've given them a low weightage here, because one thing that I always think is that as a brand marketer, we all need to think beyond social media now, because again, only 60% of my user may be on that, but how much is the true relevance? That is still brands need to answer that question. And end of the day, offline experiences, which will convert to be a phygital experiences now. There are also some very interesting services that telecom companies have in India. One of them is LOC IQ and Customer IQ, which allows you to use telecoms data to promote. And of course, they don't share the data, so they can promote your services using their service. Another very interesting service, which is a green tick push notifications. So all the mobile manufacturers have these SDKs installed, and they push notifications for end users basis on the apography that they have. And last but not the least, LiveX. LiveX is a service that allows you to curate painter meets, mason meets, and all those kind of interactive seminars where people can engage, people can also gratify and also interactively attend these shows. Finally, instant gratification. As I mentioned, India has got 40 crore plus wallet users, and there are 300 plus companies who gives right now instant vouchers. There are 3,000 plus gifting options available. And on top of it, there are also 20 plus payment gateways which are available in the country. The point here that I'm trying to make is that I know that the communities that we were building as the brands, they were primarily physical. They were primarily going towards digital, but now we have an opportunity to make it digital as early as possible with as seamless integration as possible. So if I look at last mile digital, I'll just take a few more minutes to talk about some examples which are very relevant for you. And I think with these examples, we'll be able to understand how the last mile digital work and how you can actually leverage the opportunity. Asian Paint ran a program called Mobile Pe Charcha, on which they created a digital community of painters. Painters come, they watch videos, they interact with those videos, and then they answer, and then painters gets gratification. Very interesting program that they have run. Bata. Recently, Bata launched a Bata chat shop, which is a hyper-local virtual commerce on WhatsApp. So basically, you can go to this link, and then they have all the retailers onboarded on this. And then once you click on it, automatically the retailers get the WhatsApp messages from you, and then they can start interacting from you. So basically now you don't need to go to a Bata retailer nearby. You can simply get the details about the products that they have. They can come, they can offer, and then all those sort of things can happen. A perfect example of virtual commerce and phygital. GSK last year, probably even last year, GSK launched a program called Suraksha Ki Door, which is very interesting because in India still, if I remember the number last year, it was approximately 70 to 80% of the parents who did not remember the date of vaccination for their kids. So GSK, which launched a product called Baby Crocin, they ran a program called Suraksha Ki Door, which was all on IVR, in which the end user just need to send, the parents just need to send the date of birth of their kids, and then automatically basis on predefined cycle, all these parents were getting the reminder about the vaccination for their kids. Very, very successful program, no internet, very simple. And last example, which is from last year, Airtel also ran a very interesting program called Airtel Diwali Mahotsav, and how they used gamification to interact with users on their platform. So what they did, basically, they created an interactive gamification, a very lightweight portal, which is linked from their Airtel Thanks app. So you click on it, you can spin and you can win. And then as a win, they had these vouchers, and I think they also gifted a car to a final winner. Now, when you look at these examples, what I'm trying to make here is, the point that I'm trying to make here is that these are not very high-tech savvy examples. This is the power of true last mile digital, is that you think of very simplistic mobile focused platforms, because currently if you look at 90% of web traffic is coming towards mobile. So we have to think as a mobile first marketing arm, and using these kind of very basic services, these kind of very interesting campaigns can be created. And in the end, what last mile digital offers to brands is creating virtual meetups, the painter meets, mason meets, all those things. On those meetups, you can organize interactive engagements, gamifications, and all those things can happen. Loyalty programs. So of course, all of the major brands have some loyalty program running. But now those days are gone when people were constantly buying things and then you were giving points. Now what end user or last mile users are thinking is that how do I get the instant gratification, in Hindi as they call chat mangni pat bya. And finally, when we combine all of these things, we create a complete digital community of the people who love you, people who endorse your brand, and people eventually who will influence other people to buy your brand. 4 keywords, if I have to finally leave with this slide, it'll be rurban. Rurban is rural that's going towards urban. O2O to O, as I mentioned, offline to online to offline, or vice versa. WOWI, which is with or without internet. And last but not the least, Internet of Communities. So a painter is also a father. A driver is also could be something else. So these kind of things. Last but not the least, I was representing Almond. Almond is an ATechnos venture. And if there are any other details we can help you with, I have left my email ID here. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for your time. I'll hand it over to Alok ji to take it further. Alok ji.
Abhinav, that was fascinating, especially because, I have often become slightly cynical and realize that internet typically means smartphones. So it's very heartening to see somebody start off with the 40 crore feature phone users and gradually build on it.